Hare Krishna. Seems like we have more of an intimate group today. In Krishna, the amazing thing about Krishna consciousness every opportunity is an arrangement by Krishna for us to advance in devotional service. And so whatever situation we're in, we can appreciate and make the most out of it. Even Srila Prabhupada, when he first came to America, he didn't know exactly what he would do, where he would go. I mean, he had this order by his spiritual master, but he was in a foreign country. He didn't know anybody personally here in America, but he had this firm faith in Krishna and the holy name. And so he made the most out of every circumstance to advance others in Krishna consciousness, of course, because he is a pure devotee, eternal associate of the Lord. So in this Bhagavad Gita, everybody here is familiar with this, but I'll sing the prayers on page 1. It's some of the prayers, introduction, prayers that Srila Prabhupada writes in this introduction, page 1. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurum Litam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapaitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurung Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Svirangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopiga Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanshakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I feel very blessed to be speaking today on this very holy day. Today is the beginning of the month of Kartik. And Kartik is a month which we celebrate Lord Krishna's pastimes in his baby form, Lord Damodar. So Dhamma means rope, Udara means abdomen. So this name refers to the pastime when Krishna, as a little baby, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in a baby form, accepts his mother's, surrenders to his mother, and becomes in a sense, inferior to his mother's love, becomes conquered by his mother's love. So this is a very special month. And also, today is, what is the word? It starts with an S, the Sanskrit. But anyways, today is marking the day when Krishna had the pastime with the gopis, the Rasa Leela dance. So when Krishna wanted to perform this Rasa Leela pastime, so at Vamsi Vat, in Vrindavan, Krishna plays his enchanting flute and enchants the gopis. And I was reading this article by Giriraj Swami in Dandavats today, and Giriraj Swami was saying that Krishna's flute is not just the sound vibration, but Krishna's flute is a messenger. And so when Krishna played his flute, then the sent a message that Krishna would like the gopis to come to see him in the forest and perform these pastimes. So it's interesting because I think everybody here is familiar with this pastime, right? It's a Rasa Lila pastime. So Krishna sends this message that he actually wants the gopis to come see him. And so in the middle of the night, and it's funny because when they get there, he's saying, "Why have you all come here? In the dead of night, you're young girls, there's so much creatures in the forest, there's so much danger here. Why have you come to this place?" And he's telling them, you should just go back home and be, protected and things like this. Of course, this was just his playfulness. But anyway, so it's also a very special day according to this pastime of the Rasa Lila, and Damodar month is starting. Also, it's the 4th month, final month of Chaturmas. We're fasting from Urd Dal, those who are following. So, we'll speak some from the Bhagavad Gita. So we'll start with chapter 7, text number 29, page 405. Jara marana mokshaya. Hare Krishna. Mama shritya yatantiye. Jara marana mokshaya. Te brahmatad vidu kritsnam. Mama shritya yatantiye. Adyatmam karma chakilam. Te brahma tad vidu kritsnam. Jara marana mokshaya. Adyatmam karma chakilam. Mama shriti yatantiye. Te brahma tad vidu kritsnam. Adyatmam karma chakilam. Jara, old age. Marana, death. Mokshaya, for the purpose of liberation. Mam, unto me. Ashritya, taking shelter of. Yatanti, endeavor. Yea, all those. Te, such persons. Brahma, Brahman. Tat, actually that. Viduhu, they know. Kritsnam, everything. Adyatmam, transcendental. Karma, fruit of activities. Cha, also. Akilam, entirely. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental and fruitive activities. Purport. Birth, death, old age, and diseases affect this material body, but not the spiritual body. There is no birth, death, old age, and disease for the spiritual body. So one who attains a spiritual body becomes one of the associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engages in eternal devotional service. Is really liberated. Aham Brahmasmi, I am spirit. It is said that one should understand that he is Brahman, spirit soul. This Brahman conception of life is also in devotional service, as described in this verse. The pure devotees are transcendentally situated on the Brahman platform, and they know everything about transcendental and material activities. 4 kinds of impure devotees who engage themselves in the transcendental service of the Lord achieve their respective goals. And by the grace of the Supreme Lord, when they are fully Krishna conscious, they actually enjoy spiritual association with the Lord. But those who are worshippers of demigods never reach the Supreme Lord in His supreme planet. Even the less intelligent Brahman-realized persons cannot reach the supreme planet of Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavan. Only persons who perform activities in Krishna consciousness, Mam Ashritya, are actually entitled to be called Brahman, because they are actually endeavoring to reach the Krishna planet. Such persons have no misgivings about Krishna, and thus they are factually Brahman. Those who are engaged in worshipping the form or archa of the Lord, or who are engaged in meditation on the Lord simply for liberation from material bondage, also know by the grace of the Lord the purports of Brahman, Adi Bhuta, etc., as explained by the Lord in the next chapter. So, many people have different ideas about what is actually material and what is spiritual. And the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vedic literatures, they aim to separate what is material and what is spiritual for our welfare and for everybody's welfare. And so the distinction is being made here about this material body and our spiritual body. So our material body is made of these material elements, you know. We have the earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego that comprise this gross and subtle body, which the soul is encased in. The soul is considered to be called also the embodied being, the embodied person. So the spiritual, we actually have a spiritual form, and that form is not subject to these material pangs, birth, death, old age, and disease. The soul is transcendental, it's Satchidananda. So it's eternal, full of knowledge, and full of bliss. So actually that's very encouraging, that who we really are is full of knowledge. Everybody likes to be knowledgeable, right, about things. Somebody who has knowledge, people tend to naturally look towards or look up to. So this opulence is very attractive for us. And one is full of bliss. Everybody is seeking happiness in this material world, or everywhere actually. But many people are seeking happiness in this material world, but unfortunately they're not finding it because they're a fish out of water. They're in a material atmosphere, which isn't actually where they're meant to be. So when people see people that are actually happy, it's very attractive as well, because the soul is hankering for that. So we see that everybody is endeavoring, like anything, to be happy. They're performing so many austerities to be happy. They're going to work from 9 to 5 to enjoy on the weekends or enjoy, in the in-between times. But they're working so hard to maintain themselves and their families and get some extra time for going on vacations and this and that. So we can see that at the ultimate, if we introspect enough, we see that we have this nature, Anandamayo Bhyasat, full of bliss. The soul is full of Ananda. It's always seeking this. And we can achieve that by putting our intelligence into understanding the Lord and serving and performing service, devotional service, hearing about Krishna's pastimes. And these are spiritual activities that gives the soul satisfaction and actual happiness, because we're acting in our original constitutional position. We're going back into the water. And then it's just a matter of diving deeper and deeper into the nectar of spiritual life. So this ocean of transcendental happiness is the material happiness is compared to a drop in the desert, a drop of water in the desert. So if there's a drop of water in the desert, it may be satisfying for one moment, but quickly it vanishes. And then we're hankering more for that drop. And then we're looking towards the mirage in the desert of this material world and running towards that mirage, trying to find that happiness, but we'll actually never find it. This world is considered to be called a phantasmagoria, as well as by Srila Prabhupada. So Krishna says in the 8th chapter, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka, that from the highest planet in this material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery where repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains the my abode, Arjuna, does not come back to this material world. So we can achieve even the spiritual world in this lifetime by performing devotional service. And when you really absorb yourself in devotional service, you can really experience what it's like to have no anxieties. You can experience what it's like to be in Vaikuntha just by doing some service, like cleaning dishes, washing dishes, cooking food, doing kirtan, playing the instruments. There's so many things we can do for Krishna that is of a spiritual quality, and it'll give us that happiness we're hankering for, and also we'll be completely absorbed in that activity. So then won't hanker for that material happiness that is natural for us in this material world. As in the Bhagavad Gita 2:59, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasa varjam rasopyasya param drisva nivartate. So even though we're in the body, and these senses we have urges of the senses that are pulling us here and there, and we still have taste for the sense objects. But even though we have this taste for the sense objects, if we experience a higher taste, drisva vinivartante, then we can become fixed in devotional. We can become fixed in devotional service, fixed in that higher taste, and we'll give up these lower sense pleasures from this material body. So this isn't exactly the best place to be living in, the material world, because ultimately we have to experience these sufferings of the body. But even though a devotee is in the body, in his physical form, but he's performing devotional service, he's serving Krishna, he doesn't experience these 4 miseries like somebody who is attached to the body. Just like when somebody grows old, it's not a very, generally speaking, some people may have this very appreciative consciousness, but growing old isn't such a good thing. I mean, in somebody's mind who's attached to the body, because naturally the body starts to become more weak. You can't do the same things you could physically when you were younger, and also mentally too. We become more forgetful, and this and that. And our back hurts, and I'm already experiencing these things. I'm still in my 20s, and my back hurts, and so as Kali Yuga progresses, this age, then the miseries, they come earlier. So due to our sinful activities. So anyways, but we can become detached from this material physical form and the sufferings that are imposed on us by material nature. So one may think that he is free. One person in the material world, he may think from his false ego that, what is the need of endeavoring for self-realization in a serious way? I'm okay. Everything's all good. I'm living here. I guess let the good times roll. But quickly, one will see in his life that time goes by quick. It may seem like time is going by slow, but time goes by quick. And when one reaches more advanced ages, he realizes that if he hasn't been productive, that's a cause of his suffering. Srila Prabhupada states that one of the sufferings of old age is one feels like he hasn't done enough. He wasn't productive with his time. And so, but even though he may feel that way, if he engages in devotional service, then he, at the point where he starts devotional service and he does it in a serious way, at any time we should do devotional service in a serious way. If we are at that state of consciousness and we have that realization, we should do it in a serious way, and our lives will be glorious no matter what we did in our past. Fortunately. But yeah, so we want to utilize our time rightly, and Krishna gives the right instructions in the Bhagavad Gita just how to do that. And the main instruction Krishna gives on how to do that is Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Mad Yaji Mam Namaskru Mame Vaishvasa Yuktvaivam. What was the last line? Sa me yuktatamo mataha. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me, and thus you will come to me without fail. Something like that. So Krishna says this twice in the Bhagavad Gita so we can know how important it is, this instruction. And so one could ask, well, how do we think of Krishna? In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the postgraduate study of the Vedic knowledge, Srila Prabhupada explains that by hearing about Krishna and speaking about Krishna, naturally we'll think about Krishna. So as we hear Shravanam, which is the first process of devotional service, then naturally we will chant Kirtanam, and then by that chanting, then we'll be able to remember or have the smaranam, think of Krishna. So it's scientific. Hare Krishna. Yeah. I'll just repeat the question for. Yeah, the question is that how do we utilize our time if we're not living in an environment like a temple and, externally doing, all the devotional activities that are facilitated by a temple life? How does one think about Krishna, hear about Krishna? The amazing thing is that we can perform devotional service anywhere we are. So by chanting the holy names, there's no hard or fast rules. We can chant anywhere and everywhere. And by chanting holy names, then naturally we'll remember Krishna. As far as practical activity, if one is Hare Krishna, if one is giving up his results to Krishna, then that activity, he can remember Krishna. He's doing it as a service. Just like a family person, a family man or woman, they have a duty actually to facilitate their children to advance in spiritual life. So part of their service is actually to maintain their family, which means you need a job and you need to, pay car insurance, health insurance, all these things. They come with that environment and relationships. But we can spiritualize all these things. But it's very difficult anyways to think about Krishna. Even if you're living in a temple, you're doing externally devotional service, like following all the programs, morning program, evening program, service throughout the day. Even that can be difficult. So, but one who's even working a job, 9 to 5, and maybe going to school, they could equally have the same opportunity to think of Krishna, use their time to think of Krishna, and advance in devotional service, although it is more difficult generally. So, back to this point about the self, different from the material body, it's encouraging that this physical form, which I just by chance got, is not really me. So I'm not a man, I'm not American, I'm not all these things. I'm not this, I'm not that. Anything associated with this body, I'm actually a spiritual being. I'm beyond these things. And so the interesting thing is when one comes to that point, okay, if I'm a soul and not this body, not American, not man, not woman, not white, black, not intelligent, not intelligent, all these things, all these material designations. If I'm not all these things, then what do I do? What is my nature? And so this is explained in detail in the Vedic knowledge. And Krishna explains this in the 2nd chapter about the soul, the nature of the soul, and then he gives instructions after that point. So it's already understood now that we're a soul, we're not this material body. So intelligent persons who endeavor for liberation from old age and death, they take refuge in me in devotional service. So that intelligent person is one who has the correct understanding, the right understanding that he's not this physical form, but spiritual. And it's also encouraging because to be a spiritual being, eternal, because we all want to live, right? Nobody generally wants to not cease to live. We all appreciate relationships, we appreciate our desires, we appreciate that we're persons, and we have activities, we like to do things. So to think that we'll just give all that up and just become nothing, that's at least discouraging to me. Yeah. But to think that actually we have a spiritual form where we can enjoy eternally, we're full of knowledge, full of bliss, we can be happy for all of eternity with all the other amazing beings in the spiritual world. That's very nice. A lot nicer than what I experience here, that's for sure. Of course, we can experience this here in the society of practitioners that are endeavoring for that also. So, as mentioned here, these 4 kinds of impure devotees who engage themselves in the transcendental service of the Lord achieve their respective goals by the grace of the Lord. When they are fully Krishna conscious, they actually enjoy spiritual association with the Supreme Lord. But those who are worshippers of demigods never reach the Supreme Lord in his supreme planet. So earlier, Krishna states the 4 persons that approach him to perform devotional service: those that are in this distressed condition, those who are inquisitive, those who are seeking knowledge after the absolute truth, and those who are desirous of wealth. These are the 4 persons that approach God. And so they're seeking those things in devotional service, but even by seeking those things, they become purified and realize that actually these material things that I want, or initially came to devotional service for, they're not exactly what I really want. And Krishna will show us that. It's stated that akama sarvakama va mokshakama udaradihi tivrena bhakti yogena yejata purusham param. So whether one has all material desires, no material desires, desiring liberation, he should worship Krishna, the Supreme Lord, and he'll fulfill your real desires. So, because how do we really know, like, what is good for us? You know, we try to do so many things in this world that we thought was good for us, and you know, if it wasn't devotional service, generally speaking, it led to a lot of entanglement and distress. I know personally, just trying to do many things, think with good intentions, want to help this person, do this for them, and engage in this particular relationship. All these activities, and I didn't have the right understanding, the right sobriety of mind to know, like, what is actually best for somebody. What is best for somebody is to elevate them to spiritual consciousness, because that is actually helping the real person. So, are there any comments or questions, or maybe someone would like to share something, their realization? Yeah, Prabhu? There's only one, but I'll repeat the question.
Is it purely material? Is intelligence and knowledge, is that purely a material thing, or does the soul, throughout different lifetimes, have increasing or decreasing intelligence? Or is that purely material?
Yeah, the question is does a soul have intelligence? What is the difference between, you know, our intelligence? Because intelligence, what is the soul? That's the question, basically, is does the soul have intelligence, and does it, over our lifetimes in the material world, does it change, you know, does it advance? Yes, the soul is full of knowledge, so the soul has intelligence, but this, we have, in our subtle body, our subtle form, there's mind, intelligence, and false ego. So this discriminatory power that we have, you know, in our subtle body, that's material, and but in a higher platform is knowledge coming from the soul, you know. So the soul will have desires to serve Krishna, to chant Krishna's holy name. These spontaneous desires will come from the soul. Whereas this discriminatory function we have, you know, we discriminate. Okay, we analyze things. We discriminate. Okay, this isn't exactly the best for me according to, you know, scripture and my experience and things like that. My understanding is that's the material facility. Do you have some comments about this, Prabhu? Was that sufficient? Is that? Yeah. What is the most effective way to share Krishna consciousness? Well, there's many ways. They're all absolute. So this is a cultural conquest of material energy. To share Krishna consciousness, we have to see, according to time, place, and circumstance, what is the best means. For example, in the Western world, in America and Europe, Srila Prabhupada instructed his disciples and devotees to perform kirtan in the streets, street harinam, which means chanting in the streets. And when they went to India, they thought, yeah, this is what we do. Let's chant in the streets. And Srila Prabhupada instructed them, in this circumstance, actually, let's not do this. Let's focus on creating life members, enlisting people and becoming life members of the temple, and you know, they'll be able to stay with us for some time and give us, you know, they'll give charity out of their compassion and desires. So this was a circumstance, an example of Srila Prabhupada changing strategy, because people weren't taking them very seriously, in India chanting in the streets at this particular circumstance. So the point is that we can utilize strategy in chanting, in spreading Krishna consciousness. One person may not be interested in chanting Hare Krishna, but they may be more interested in hearing philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, or somebody may not be interested in hearing philosophy or chanting Hare Krishna, but everybody likes food, everybody has to eat, so they can have some prasadam, some spiritual food. The basis of our lives, actually, is chanting Hare Krishna, though. Everything is meant to facilitate that, taking more shelter of the holy name. So whatever we do, then, we perform services, and we perform austerities, and it's all meant for us to take more shelter of Krishna. And by taking more shelter of Krishna means also taking more shelter of the holy names, because the holy name Krishna is non-different from Krishna himself. So, is there anything else?
In this purport, Srila Prabhupada says, one who attains a spiritual life. So, are we actually always this spirit soul, or is it that we come into it, change into it, transformation? What is exactly the process of devotional service? What's actually happening?
Yeah. Well, the soul, the spiritual being, the form, is encased in this body, in the heart region. And the analogy is given that we were originally pure in consciousness. And mixing with this material world, we become like a raindrop that falls from the sky and enters into some muddy water. And so the raindrop is still, in its original form, clear, pure H2O. But with this mud, it gets in this mixture. So, but it's still there. It's still the part of this muddy water. So devotional service is the process by which we extract that pure water, pure drop of rain from the sky, from this muddy water. So as we perform devotional service, then we become more and more situated in our eternal nature, in our eternal... There's a lot of intricacies to this that I'm not familiar with also. But that's a general principle. Yes?
People who are practicing other spiritual traditions, Old Testament, New Testament, Buddhists, Jains, Sikhs, do they attain to the same level as those who practice Krishna consciousness?
The question is, do people of other faiths, Buddhism, Jainism, Islamic faith, do they attain to the same destination as one practicing Krishna consciousness? Well, one has to see what is the goal of their religion. What is the goal of their faith in the process? Are they actually achieving that goal? Are they actually making progress towards it? Just like Srila Prabhupada would say that the goal of religion is to love God. So if your religion is actually coming from God and there's some pure representative who's giving you the process to achieve that, and you're actually gaining those realizations, you're actually increasing your love for God and becoming detached from material life. Your material fever is waning, and your addiction to Krishna or to God is increasing. That is the criteria for, a bona fide religion. Are you actually achieving the goal of religion? Loving God. So yes, actually, I've met many Christians, Catholics, persons of the Islamic faith that you could really tell that they have this affection for their form or their name of God that they worship. Essentially, from the Vedic point of view, everybody's essentially worshiping Krishna, but possibly in a different, category. Just like the Krishna Bhakta, he is interested to worship Krishna. Krishna indicates the personality in Goloka Vrindavan, the eternal, in the eternal spiritual sky, and the spiritual sky is considered like a lotus flower, and there's many Vaikuntha planets in these petals around this, in this lotus flower, and then at the world, the lotus flower is Goloka Vrindavan, the highest planet, the highest, the most supreme planet in the spiritual sky, which this supreme planet is where you get to experience relationship with God, with Krishna, that is completely intimate. There's not this, awe and reverence or affection for the opulences in the spiritual sky, but you have this intimate relationship with God, with Krishna. So this place is where the Krishna Bhakta aspires towards. So as we hear these pastimes in this Kartik month, then we increase our affection for Krishna in his mood, for God in his mood as Krishna in the Goloka Vrindavan, which is very, very intimate. Just like Krishna he's displaying this little baby form, Lord Damodar, the supreme person in this baby form, a baby is naturally dependent in all circumstances, A baby can't do practically anything himself. He can't, I've seen pictures of little babies, they can't, he's a little boy, sorry. Little boys, they're also very, very dependent on their mothers, on their parents. And even just like Krishna, when he displays form, going back to this baby point, the baby, you have to put the food in its mouth, you have to lay it down, pat its back, change its diaper. So dependent on the parents. So Krishna, because he's so intimately loving, and devotees have this desire to experience this relationship with him, he takes this form as a little baby who's completely dependent on his devotee. So the devotee's doing service like this to Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. And in this Damodar pastime, Krishna displays the form of a little boy, and Shri Gauritai Ki Jai. Krishna displays his form as a little boy who is very dependent on his mother. So at some point in this pastime, and the pastime goes, and I guess we can just go into it because this is the first day of the month of Kartik. This pastime is that there is some festival, some festivities. Mother Yashoda and her. This is Mother Yashoda's love, actually. She has so many servants, so many maidservants, and she's, Nanda Maharaj, the king of Vrindavan. He's the head. Yashoda is the queen of Vrindavan, right? And so Mother Yashoda has so many servants, so many maidservants who, are assisting her in her household affairs. She has so many servants, but she chooses to do service for Krishna, like making, sweets for Krishna. She has so many servants that can do it. She chooses to churn butter for Krishna. She has so many thousands of servants that can do this. But because she has that complete love for Krishna, she wants to serve the Lord personally. So, this is her love. Anyways, there's some festivities. Mother Yashoda is wanting to cook some sweets for Krishna. She is boiling some milk. And Krishna, he wakes up from his nap and he wants to, he wants to breastfeed. He wants some food. And that's his sustenance, is breastfeeding. And so he, comes to his mother and so calls his mother. His mother comes and she's breastfeeding him. And she notices that there's this milk that is boiling over. And it's creating some disturbance in the kitchen. So she puts her child down and she runs to this milk. Because she's doing that as a service to Krishna. That was her motive. It wasn't like she was just trying to abandon her child. But she was doing this as a service to Krishna. She was thinking, this milk is going to boil over and I won't be able to make these sweets for Krishna. So she goes and she takes care of this milk. And Krishna is frustrated because he's thinking like, what is this? This is her main duty, is to, take care of me, to give me milk. So he gets mad and he goes and he goes to the storehouse of where there's butter, and he breaks this pots of butter, and he's eating the butter and things. So there's a lot of intricacies to this pastime, but just for general sake. He runs away because he broke this pot of butter, and his mother comes and she sees this scene, there's broken pots of butter, and she's like, she's astonished because this child is so clever. He just runs away. He hides from his mother because of his mischievous activities. So the mother gets a stick and starts to look for Krishna. And at some point she's chasing Krishna with his stick, and Krishna is very fearful, running from his mother, fearful. So, so this is the interesting thing about Goloka and Vrindavan, is these pastimes, is a Supreme Lord, the most powerful person, is running from a mother. He doesn't have a mother. He's the cause of all causes. He's eternally, God. He's God. But he's having this relationship because of this loving relationship with his devotee. So God is running from his mother, and he's fearful. He's actually fearful. He's actually crying. He's actually really experiencing fear. And this is the opulence of Goloka and Vrindavan, are these pastimes, these intimate dealings. So, anyways, Krishna is running from his mother. He's very fearful, and at some point, Mother Yashoda, she catches Krishna, and so she thinks, what should I do with him? So she gets this idea to tie him up to this wooden grinding mortar. Like mothers do this, they have some timeout time for their children. My mom used to tell me, go in this corner for 15 minutes. And then I should just, go get in this corner, just stare at the corner and be so frustrated. So mothers have this, they want to give some punishment to their children. So Mother Yashoda has this desire to tie up Krishna with the rope to this wooden grinding mortar. And so she gets this rope and she puts it around Krishna's abdomen and ties him up, tries to tie him up, and then there's 2 fingers are too short. And when she gets to the end of wanting to tie it, then there's 2 fingers too short of rope. So then she is thinking, oh my gosh. So then she goes, she gets more rope, she gets all the rope there is in the and she gets the biggest rope. She comes back, she tries to tie Krishna, it's 2 fingers too short. She goes, she gets all the rope they have, in the whole village, tries to tie Krishna up, too short. And, she tries again, and she is actually, by doing this, running here and there, getting rope, she's perspiring, her hair is, frazzled. And so by this time, Krishna realizes that, okay, I'm going to submit to my mother's love because she's endeavoring so much to serve me. Actually, she's doing this as a service for pastimes. So then Krishna agrees to be bound by this rope. And the 2 fingers too short, which are this symbolic representation that's given by, I believe, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur in his commentary in these pastimes, or maybe it's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that 2 fingers, one finger is effort, our effort to serve Krishna, to please Krishna, and Krishna's mercy. So these 2 things have to be there, effort and mercy. The mercy of Krishna and our labor, our effort. So there's some ideas that in serving God, then we just are accepting some rituals or regulations. If we just accept those, and we may not be doing the best at them, we may be going on sinning or, not following purely. It doesn't matter because we've accepted some. I'm talking about Christianity, modern Christianity. There's many ideas that if we just accept somebody, Jesus, into our lives, then, and we can just go on sinning. It doesn't matter. We're fallen. We can just continue. It doesn't matter if we do sinful activities. Some people have this idea. And so, but you have to endeavor, actually, to get the mercy of God. God helps those who help themselves. So you have to endeavor yourself to get Krishna's mercy. Of course, it's causeless, ultimately, because Krishna, even if you endeavor, Krishna doesn't have to give you that mercy. And many times he won't, because he wants to test you. Is this person really sincere? Does he really want to know me? Does he really want to serve me? And this renunciation of Krishna actually lets the devotee bring out the best in himself by that effort, because he has to endeavor more, he has to be more serious, he has to use more intelligence to serve the Lord. So, like this, you need effort and Krishna's causeless mercy to be able to connect with Krishna, to perform, to have these loving relationship, to go back to the spiritual world, to be reinstated in our constitutional position. So this is a very special pastime that we meditate on, this idea that we're serving Krishna, we're trying our best to serve the Lord, and He is so kind that by His causeless mercy He gives us some spiritual experience, He gives us some remembrance of Him, He gives us some, He may give us some nice prasadam, like tonight. So He's maintaining us very nicely. So He's actually giving us so many things, everything He's given us to help facilitate us in our advancement in devotional service. So, yes, this is a special month. And we also meditate on just how wonderful our destination can be. Goloka Vrindavan, how we can become God's parent or God's lover or God's friend or God's servant, or we can have this neutral relationship with Krishna, with God. And we can become attracted to this parental pastime of this really amazing pastime of Krishna. So, are there any points? We have a couple minutes till Arti. 4 minutes. So today we'll have Arti. We'll do Nishringli prayers, and also we will sing Dhammadraskam, and then we can offer some candles to Krishna. That is a sort of a ritual in this month of Kartik. And, yeah. Hare Krishna.
So these pastimes, they're just Krishna wanted to do this particular thing.
Yeah, he's asking, are these pastimes, does Krishna just want to do this particular thing? So yeah, Krishna wants to experience these relationships with his devotees. He likes variety. The mother of enjoyment is variety. When one has a variety of cars, opulence, friends, relatives, then he feels very happy materially. He's enjoying variety of vacation spots. So Krishna, that propensity is in the Lord also, that he likes varieties of enjoyments as well. And he wants to enjoy many unlimited varieties of things. And he wants to enjoy those with his devotees, his pure devotees. So yes, the Lord, he desires this, and to fulfill his desire, then all of his devotees work together in cooperation to enact these pastimes. And this devotee, Yogamaya, who actually bewilders the Lord, quote unquote, bewilders the Lord, his role as God, to be this baby crying in fear of his mother, running. She's doing a very great service because he can experience this intimate relationship. So yeah, Krishna desires these things, and then by his pure devotees, they are facilitated. So, I mean, how great is it that we can actually have a personal, loving relationship with the most beautiful, most knowledgeable, most perfect person in all of existence. We can have a loving relationship with that person, intimate. We can speak to him. You know, we can, if we want, we can chastise him. We can call him names. We can wrestle with him. We can, hug him. We can shoot arrows at him. We can, so many things we can do in relationship with Krishna in a loving way to the most perfect person. It's unlimitedly greater than just like merging and becoming a light, trying to become light, merging in some energy, but what are we going to do there? What are we going to do in this energy? Unlimitedly greater, enjoying our spiritual happiness with the Lord, the reservoir of all happiness. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you everybody for your kind attention. I'm sorry that I was the one giving class, but thank you for tolerating. We'll have the Arti ceremony, and the words to this beautiful Bengali bhajan or prayer will be projected on this screen here, so we can all follow along. And then we'll do Nrsimha prayers, and then Dhammadarastakam, which will also be projected on this screen. And then we will serve out our amazing, delicious, vegetarian prasadam feast. So everybody is taking things and putting them in their proper places, respective places. Hare Krishna.